Hey people, it's all about the balls. So my channel's down for another 10 days or so. They took me down for 2 weeks this time. But this is going to be about the balls, and it's going to tell a lot here. And then some more about this 420, the 420. Israelites unite. They claim that, King James was black, and I could tell by their writings that they don't have a clue what they're even reading here. And then other places, they do say that, King James was much more read in prior times, and that there was an imposter that came in his place, the new King James. The British say that the Italians are half black, and that's what you got here is an Italian imposter. And you can see him holding the ball here, the ball and the magic wand. So if you see yourself as a race or a color, you really don't get it. You're in the body. You aren't the body, you're in the body. And so balls has a couple different meanings. The meaning it doesn't have is Lord. People think balls means Lord, or it means the devil. And I'll show you where they get the devil from. But you can see here, everybody knew this was pronounced balls, except the King James Version called it ballum, and the Hebrews hababalam. The Hebrews can't read this. They don't have a clue what they're reading either. But this is balls. Everybody knew it was balls. And the Lord and serve the balls. Sounds like volleyball. And their God and served the balls, and played after the balls, and the Lord served the balls. Our God served the balls. The Son of Israel, the balls. The Lord served the balls, along after the balls. His presence, the altars of the balls, defiled after ball. It should be balls here, this I-S. Of their heart and after the balls, and the days of the balls. We will remove the names of balls, her mouth no. So the balls here, the Hebrews say this is an M, and this is a final M, and when it's on the end, it's a S. And that's why they make everything with the ends like this plural, the fathers. You see that final M, it's a S. It looks more like a S, and that's what it means. It's a S when it's on the end. And that's why everybody else knew this was the balls, the B-O-L-I-S. The balls. And the Hebrews and King James and the Greeks didn't want you to know about balls, and they totally took the word balls out of here. There's no more balls. Now it's the idols. The idols which taught. And their word for idols is they dolon. E-I-D-O-L-O-N. They dolon. But you can see this word balls up here in the same chapter. Up here in 9:8, and they give it the meaning arrow. But it's spelled, B-O-L-I-S. The same as here, the B-O-L-I-S. It's not an M, it's an S. The balls. The ball is. And we can see this word up here, the one an arrow is the hex, H-X. The hex, shot, S-H-U-H-T. Here it's S-H-U-T, shot, and shot out. An arrow shot out. No, a hex shot. And so up here at 12, their interpretation is, who is the man wise and who may understand this? And it's difficult to understand because they're trying to change the language, and they're trying to make this S and M. But it's the balls, and the Greeks and King James and the Hebrew don't want you to know this. But they knew all about the balls because their fathers taught them. So this is where your word the devil comes from, the worshippers of Baal, and their interpretation. Now therefore all the prophets of Baal, all his servants, all his priests, call to me, no one let be missing. For a sacrifice great I have for Baal. Anyone whoever is missing not shall live. But Jehu acted deceptively with the intent of destroying the worshippers of Baal. And so this is all misinterpreted, but I'm going to start just here. This is Layhie, to lay high. And the writings about Jehu, this is some good writings to read, because it's to you, Yew, to you learn. Whose in of be, whose in of be of man have hand to. The man have hand to, and then backwards and forwards. Have hand to hand, ID. The hand in of Diebol, Diebol. And that's the word in Greek that they'll say is the devil. The worshippers of Baal, of Diebol, diabolical, Diebol, diabolical, the devil. You can see it here in Greek as the devil, the diabol, the devil as, the diabol as. OV, of, to see in, the diabol. And so, the people, the writers of his Hebrew Bible, they believe the earth to be a ball spinning, and to make you learn, and your fathers taught you of the ball. And the Greeks, they didn't want nobody to know this. It was top secret. And so this Hebrew book is a rebellion, and they're spreading the secrets. And it's the first words in the Bible, that Ramiel had fell and wrote this Hebrew Bible and told all the Greek secrets. So while I was reading about Jehu, and it tells a lot, it's to make you learn. And I ran into this word ships, and I know a whole lot about ships, and that's how I figure out the rest of these words, is I find things that I know about, and then I read all about them. But what I found is there's a ton of words for ships here. And this isn't all of them. There's a whole bunch of other words for ships. But this word here was a big secret, Vav, V-A-N-Y, to Annie. And they say it means a fleet, ships. It's the same word when God's talking about himself. And I am. Now behold, I do myself establish. I establish this covenant in the writ with you. I am the fleet of ships. Annie, I showed you before, last movie, that means armed, him with a sword. The fleet armed with a sword, is the same word that they say is a fleet of ships here. Let me give you a quick taste of this Jehu, so you understand the mindset of the writer here. Jehu kills the priest of Baal, and I was looking at Baal when I found this. But it's who covets, QBX. Who covets, and covets is, you're in your cupboard, something you gather more than what you need. And then you, Y-E-U-A, knowledge, you learn. Who covets, you learn. And then anything starts with an A reads backwards, so it's T-A. And then the hyphen tells me to read this backwards, so it's L-K. The talk. And then L means of. You see it in the ancient letter meaning chart. It means belongs to or of. Who covets, you learn. The talk of M-O, backwards and forwards, M-O, modus operandum, The motive has. The talk of motive has. And said, starts with an A. Mila vaka oved tu. Mila is actually the word for gathered. Mila is a gathering. These people were worldwide sailors, and they understood many languages. And he said, Mila vaka oved. And so vaka is said to mean the cow, vaka. And so it's not just Latin, but it was many, many languages. It's said to mean the cow, the milk, not just a cow, but a milk cow, a female cow. Not necessarily a milk cow, but a female cow. It's the same in all these languages. It's where it comes from, vaka. You see spelled with a K or two C's. Sometimes they put a B in there because they didn't have the decimal there in the B to let them know it was a V. But all these languages, the vaka is the milk cow, the female cow. So it's who covets you the talk. You want to learn the language of the purpose to has to call in. Hey, Mila vaka ovedi, bring on the female servants. And so this is what you do when you're in the Navy. You hit a different port all through Europe, and that's the first thing you learn is, hey, how do I say bring on the women? Bring on the females. You have to learn it in every language, every port you hit. To who covets you learn, you knowledge, you wanting the knowledge to talk of, the purpose has to call up, to gather the female servants, ovidi. Ovidi, this is where they give slaves or servants all the way through the Bible. It actually means sheep. It's ovid. Anybody who's wearing a mask right now, that's you. You're ovid. So I ran into the word for ships, and that got me studying all the words they say mean ships, and that's how I run into this. But yeah, this starts with A and it reads backwards. It's a twin, 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 as in a catamaran, twin. But this is the chapter that talks about God's covenant with Solomon, and he calls to Hiram to build his cities, two houses, one for himself and one for God, and then he gives Hiram some cities. And Hiram says he ain't happy with them, so he pays him off. And so every bit of that's misinterpreted. And then it talks about Solomon's numerous achievements, and he built this great navy, and that's where that comes in down there. But then in the last line, after all that was done, and he built his great navy, and then it says, who vow, W-Y. W-Y is ancient English for how or who, and then V-A-W, who vow. And then starts with A and it's backwards, the repo, R-I-P-U-A. The repo. Who vow the repo to go take back the wife to, W-I-Q-H to, the wife to. Who vow the repo of wife to. Mass is in. Zeb is not gold. This is Z-E is Hebrew for it, this, but it's actually is. The mass is in. The wife, who repo the wife to masses in. And masses are all the planets, the masses that have an effect, their pull on the planet, the moon affecting the tides, and Jupiter affecting your thinking. It's all about astrology here. And then the 420 comes again. And so this 420, it starts with A and it reads backwards, and it's O bear. O bear is the 4. And so bear, is the first word in the Bible when it says and created. In receipt, bear, B-R-A, to created, in receipt bear. And so this starts with the A, so it reads backwards, and it says to see bear. And so bear is 4 because all the ancients believed that Jupiter was the creator. And Jupiter is your number 4. It is mercy. It's Jupiter. That's a symbol for Jupiter here. Jupiter. It was the same symbol for the Indians. You see Jupiter here. The D, or the 4. You see it here in the cipher of Yetzirah. In the language of the cipher of Yetzirah, the Jupiter is R, the head. Jupiter's in charge. You know, Jupiter is Jehovah. That's where the word Jehovah come from. You know, Jupiter was in charge, the 4. And even today, you know, they say that they got a picture from a telescope and went through some lenses, and they seen that Jupiter had an umbilical cord to the sun, and Jupiter controls the sun. And so that's where this 4 comes from. To see B N R, first, the head power. The head power, the 4, Jupiter. And then this 100 comes from this tack here. You read this backwards and forwards. And so it's not mot. And they got a bunch of words that they'll say is hundreds. M-A-A-T. But this reads backwards. It's T-W-A, twa. Twa. Uno, dos, twa. From ought. Twa from ought. And so ought, you know, comes from not. You know, it means 0. The digit 0. Ought, nothing. You know, not, a worthless fool. 0, nothing. You know, also spelled ought, A-U-G-H-T. Old English, ought. Wit, meaning 0. But it comes from, wit is the smallest part of iota. And so this is iota. Iota is the letter I. And so the smallest part of iota is that little dot on top of the I. And so the 4, twa from ought, twa, 3 from ought, 3 from decimal. So 4, 3 from decimal is 400. And Osiris. Osiris is the 20 from Egypt, Osiris. And it's the star that sits on the 20. You know, it's the dog star, and it's where Osiris believed he was going to go when he died. It's the brightest star in the sky, so everybody knows, you know, you find the brightest star, you know, that's the 20. And it's over here in Canis Major. It's sitting over here at the 20. You know, so that's 4, 3 from ought, 400, and an Osiris kicker. Give me a Osiris kicker with that 400 at 420. And so this also tells in code what flag he was flying. And so, you know, the 400 is the letter T. It's the cross. Back in the old language, the letter T sits like our X does today, and the X was like the T. But yeah, the T represents the 400. And as rise the cocker. Cocker's ancient word for a rooster. And many of them still use it today. In fact, the Arabs still use the same cock and dick for a rooster. It had the same meaning. It means, you know, he wants to dictate everything that goes on the farm. He wants to be in control. He's cock. He's got to be on top of everything. To as rise cocker. And so it's telling me that's the flag of the cross, and as rise above the cocker. And that's here. This is the old flag of Michael. Michael, meaning the one like God, Michael. And on top is rise the cock. But this is the ancient symbol for Mercia. It's the arms of Britain. It was in the arms of Switzerland, Austria. This was their flag. The kings of mercy. The Saxon kings of mercy. If you ever wonder why that rooster sits on top of the cross of four winds, it's the same as hanging the cross of Jesus on your neck. It means the same thing. The 420, the 420, mercy, cross of mercy, Jupiter, the Gaelic rooster, le coq, cocker, a rooster, a male bird. But you see that they interpret it as talents, and that tells me that they weren't reading it, but they were hearing the word. They were thinking talons is what they were thinking. They were thinking the claws, especially belonging to a bird of prey. The sport of cockfighting, cocker. And so now this who vowel is followed by LA of who vowel. And vowel means to speak. Before vowels, it was all just symbols that you would look at and make a picture in your mind, and it wasn't the written language didn't mean spoken language until vowels were added, and that's when it became a spoken language. But this language goes both ways. This is Teutonic. It's what we call English. And the who vowel, and then backwards and forwards. To claim, KLM, claim them like Shalom. There is no Solomon. This is just a SSHLME. The E's on the end, because if it wasn't for the E, this M would read as S. So they add the E on the end of some words, like you see Adam, when it's spelt with an E on the end, they say it means the earth. But this is Shalom. Shalom, the peace. Who vow the repo, the wife. To mass is in. The bear, to see bear. 4, 2 from ought. And as rise the cocker. The 420. Who vowel. Who vow to, who say to claim them like peace, shalom, the peace. It's the 420 and the shalom. Peace, man, just let me 420 my stuff. So the number 20 in this Phoenician Hebrew letter meaning chart is the open hands, means to give, open hand. And so, in Egyptian, the T was the loaf of bread. The ka, the giving hands, ka, to give. The bread to give. So you can see here, where the Greeks got the balls, confused with the arrow. And over here, in the Hebrew, they know the arrow is the hex. And what you got going on here is the hex. They're confusing with a ball. The hex of the four winds. So you got, Easter here. And then you got the summer solstice. The end of summer, Rahu and Ketu. The dragon's head and the dragon's tail. And then you got your Christmas here. And you see that Jupiter and Mercury rule these 4 points. It's always Jupiter and Mercury. And the hex is here at Christmas. So this is the Obeah and the hex. The 4, the Obeah, and the hex. And so it makes me think that, just removing that dot this is when the sun is over. At the summer solstice, the sun is at its highest, and all you would have to do is remove that dot and it would be over. And this is Obeah. It's Sagittarius. The Sagittarius. A hex, HX. The H is to divide, and the X is cross. To divide side, divide to cross. So over here, you have your summer solstice, and if you divide sides over here, you have your hex over here at Christmas. But this old wheel's moving here. In the time this was written in the book of Adam, was in the time of Gemini, and Jupiter was now here in Gemini. And then the time of Moses, Moses is the bull, and so the ship, where the ribs key in was rock, is what it says in Hebrew, and they had to rebuild the boat. And so all he did was shift everything. He shifted the ribs over. And so then Jupiter was in Taurus. And then Moses, was time of the ram. And had to redo it in the time of Moses. And then, Jupiter was here in Aries. And then in the time of Jesus, Jupiter is where we are now. Jupiter up here in Pisces. Everything's, so Jupiter and Mercury are all in the same places when it was first written, and in the book of Adam in Genesis, except they shifted a little bit. They shifted a quarter, 90 degrees. And so that's why when I read this, sometimes it appears to be right, even though it's different, because you see the 90 is here. 90 is Mercury in here, and then this is the hex across of it is Jupiter. But we're fixing to move into the age of Aquarius, and it's all going to get off again. Then Jupiter's going to be here in Aquarius. So this wheel's moving, and the ribs rot, and you have to change the astrology to get it right. And so that's why the book, kept rewriting. All right, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.